Hello and welcome to a Very Explosion Network Christmas, our podcast dedicated to the merriest of holidays, the festive season with films about Santa Snow or being left home alone. Time of year we struggle to decide what Christmas content to watch, which is where we come in. I'm your host Ash Lobley, and helping me grow my heart 3 sizes of Christmas cheer is Dylan Black.
Humbug.
Humbug, yes. Today we're talking about this modern twist on the Christmas Carol, I guess, by it being a biopic about the making of A Christmas Carol.
Such a modern twist.
Such a modern twist.
So in the
But it also
90s or whatever.
It tells the story of the book, but also
It does Christmas Carol.
it does A Christmas Carol. It's about Christmas Carol. We're talking about The Man Who Invented Christmas. Dylan, this was one of your movie selections for this season of A Very Explosion Over Christmas. What was the rationale behind it?
Dan Stevens is pretty cool.
Accurate.
Got nothing more for you.
No, that's enough. All right, let's dive in. Please be aware we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about plot themes in the movie, so if you haven't watched it, come back later. With that said, let's talk about The Man Who Invented Christmas.
So he's had a couple of flops? Well, who hasn't?
You have a new book in mind?
Oh, of course he does.
My lamp's gone out. I've run out of ideas.
Are we in trouble?
No, of course not.
I have told you not to disturb me when I am working.
On Christmas Eve, the spirits pour into the night.
Look here, Mr. Dickens. Pickpockets, streetwalkers, humbug. Those people don't belong in books.
Charles!
It's about a miser, and on Christmas Eve, he meets some kind of supernatural guides.
Does it have a title?
Humbug, a miser's lament. Christmas ghost story, Christmas song. Christmas ballad, something like that.
Get the name right, and the character will appear. Scratch. Scrounger. Come on, Scrooge.
Shut the window. You think I'm made of money?
Mr. Scrooge. How delightful to meet you, sir.
Sorry, I can't say the same.
You and I are going to do wonderful things together.
Directed by Bharat, Nalluri. Apologies. Screenplay by Susan Coyne, based on The Man Who Invented Christmas by Liz Standiford, starring Dan Stevens, Christopher Plummer, and Jonathan Pryce. In 1843 London, author Charles Dickens finds himself in financial trouble after writing 3 unsuccessful novels in a row. Desperate for a hit, Dickens relies on a real-life inspiration, his vivid imagination, to bring Ebenezer Scrooge, Tiny Tim, and other classic characters to life in A Christmas Carol, forever changing the holiday season into the celebration known today. Dylan, is The Man Who Invented Christmas a present, stocking stuffer, or a lump of coal?
I'm going stocking stuff with this one. I hadn't seen this before, so watched it. I think it's lighthearted, fun, sort of very light biography with, you can tell, a lot of just a sumptuous
Creative liberty.
A lot of creative liberty, which is fun, and it makes for more of obviously a family-friendly movie that you could still slot into a Christmas family film slot while also still being fits both a biopic and then a Christmas film. I can't say there's doing both things somehow, but because of that, it does sort of not do both. It doesn't do either great. I'll say that's mine. I'm going to go with. But I mean, there are some standout things. I do think that Dan Stevens is quite good in this. I think he does a good job at playing Charles Dickens. It just comes across as a generally, obviously, very nice guy. The portrayal's meant to show this rather caring for the poor, but which, I mean, Dickens was known as someone who definitely had, from all of his stories, of course, all the twist through to others, but he always, they carry through that care for the poor and the unwell within this. And then his interactions, I think, with the ghosts, I guess, or whatever we want to call them, the ghosts of the characters in his head and whatnot, all makes for some rather fun, obviously just having them just come up in and start talking to him, wake him up in his bed at night, or he looks out the window that one time and sees them all down there in the corner, and he's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" There's some fun they're having with it, as silly as it sort of is at times. I think that my major criticism that I think wouldn't have even needed that much more to help change it, but I do think would have elevated it quite a bit was, it's called The Man Who Invented Christmas. We have one scene where the 2 book publisher dudes are talking about, and they give you sort of the explanation that Christmas isn't really a big thing at this time. like it's a thing, but they joke about how only people celebrate it to get time off
To get time
work
off
and,
work.
and stuff like that. So I do think if the movie had just done a little bit better job of explaining what Christmas looked like before
time
and
period.
after, in the time
Yeah.
period, because I think that would have helped elevate the
Because
whole.
it's hard to imagine a Christmas not being like Christmas now.
Yeah, so I think that would elevate it a bit, and I don't think you wouldn't have needed to change much of the movie to get to that point. So that's my main gripe. But yeah, Stocking Stuffer was solid, enjoyable time, but nothing grand.
Yeah, I think I'll go Stocking Stuffer as well. I think it is pretty good. Like, really enjoyed this depiction of like being a creative and a writer, and like kind of delving into this depiction of his creative process. And like, I'm sure anybody who's tried to write anything has like dealt with like the blockage and
I was going
struggles
to say
that
dealt with Christopher Plummer just coming into their bedroom at night, but
yeah, well, sometimes no, there's no allegations against Christopher Plummer, but like having not being able to figure out how things should end and that kind of stuff, and like that kind of thing. Love, like, it's not subtle. Him not being in a great financial situation at the start of the film, and like kind of like being a penny pincher a little bit, and like being upset that there's suddenly these.
There's an hour left in that candle. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like being a freaking marble vanities that we don't need.
Get it together, elf.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I just like the depictions of like how I guess the story came to him, of like all the ghosts are popping up as characters and like making themselves known and like all that kind of stuff, and like, but then him also like kind of this book also being like this catharsis of dealing with his own childhood trauma of
his father,
his issues with his father, of like him dad being taken away to prison and him having to like work in a child labor camp, I guess would be the easiest way to describe it, and being treated like shit and then turning it all around. Yeah, I guess maybe you could have delved a little bit more into some of the relationships, like him and his wife, and like how did they get together? It's like it's very odd pairing, and they seem to be pumping out children. There's like they're not protection in the 1800s yet.
No, I don't think there was.
It's like, come on, like
no, that's the point.
They've invented the vasectomy has not been invented yet. It's just counting down the days.
It's not the vasectomy; it's the rubber that hasn't been invented.
Yeah, turns out the pull out.
And they wouldn't invent it because it's everyone's Christian at this point. You have babies,
so many babies.
But
yeah, I think Jonathan Pryce is really good as well as this, stubborn old man who doesn't want to,
I don't know if he's stubborn or just
too proud to like live, a simple life, I guess, in the country.
Yeah,
and my wife gets sick at the sight of the cow.
Yeah,
okay, that seems unlikely. All right, let's run through some of the plot from our number one movie resource, Wikipedia. In 1843, 4 years after the success of Oliver Twist, Charles Dickens is suffering a financial hardship after the failure of his next 3 books.
Did you hold on, just before you continue?
That's a crazy turnaround.
Yeah, but did you find it weird the movie decided to start this whole like American tour thing or whatever? I don't know if that ever really felt necessary for anything else in the movie. Like you could just start the movie in England.
I guess other than to show he is acclaimed and beloved and like that kind of thing. But then you go back to London, he's just another man on the street.
Yeah. It was a weird choice, but whatever.
It was a weird choice to open that way.
It was a good joke. The only good it was a good bit because it just opens with him like the inner monologue about Americans are so like loud, proud, and like saying all these positive things about them, like they love me and can't wait to go back to England. Implication being grumpy, like sort of.
Yeah. Rejected by his publishers, he sets out to write a new one and publish it himself to restore his finances. Seeing inspiration around London, most notably a rich man's funeral that is largely unattended and a mean-spirited old man who gives him the catchphrase humbug, an inspiration of a new character, Charles begins writing A Christmas Carol. It's due in 6 weeks in order to be published before Christmas, despite his friends and publishers telling him that the book will also be a failure, as Christmas at the time was considered irrelevant as the few people celebrated it. Yeah, I guess they definitely could have fleshed this out. You'd be like, yeah, nobody really cares about Christmas. Like, I guess you don't really see any Christmassy things when you think back on the movie other than snow.
Yeah. I just feel like if you're going to call the movie The Man Who Invented Christmas, you need to do a little bit
expand
better job
on.
Yeah, that seems like an important.
Christmas being a bigger deal. I'm not sure a Christmas Carol like invents Christmas as it is. Maybe it increases interest in Christmas and like that kind of thing. But anyway, as Charles develops the story, he interacts with the characters that manifest in front of him, most notably Ebenezer Scrooge. He's helped by one of his servants, Tara, a literate Irish nursemaid to his children, with whom he discusses story elements. While writing the book, Charles is greeted by the unannounced arrival of his eccentric father, John Dickens, whom Charles views as immature and fiscally irresponsible. When Charles shows Tara the next draft, she is distraught that Scrooge would not save Tiny Tim. She believes that people can change and suggests instead that Scrooge save Tiny Tim. Can you imagine a world in which Scrooge, just in the end, just lets Tiny Tim die?
Yeah, it's a funny thing that, like, obviously, because most people watching the movie know the story, but it's like you also sort of you understand why he wouldn't have even considered that. Like, Dickens's point of view of the character was so one-sided that he couldn't even imagine a world in which, because he couldn't imagine his father could change as the whole thing. Yeah,
it's hard to imagine billionaires nowadays doing, I'm going to give away all my money and help the people. So it is pretty far-fetched, the idea that this rich man would
the thing that had me thinking, and this is a weird tangent, but when the movie's credits were rolling, I started thinking about just quickly. You know, when you have like a lot of thoughts really quickly, and it's like you process them all, but really it was like 2 seconds. I had one of those. I was just thinking, I don't know who the richest. I don't know if someone's done this data, I can find it. But I'd love to know in this time period of, like, you know, let's say early 1900s, around the time when this is set or whatever. Who was the richest people? And, like, what is the percentage of them? What is the percentage of their wealth to our current wealthiest people? Because you know there's going to be a huge difference, right? To the billionaires now and stuff. Because the thing about A Christmas Carol, the storyline, is, like, encouraging sort of your average rich person. And by rich, it just means because there was such a poor population back then. Like, there was such a huge, what do you call it? I don't know. What's below recession? Poverty, yes. So, it's such a low poverty line that the Ebenezer Scrooge character isn't even like a millionaire or a billionaire. He's just sort of a well-off dude who's hoarding all his money because of the times as well. Like, you look around and you can sort of understand how, in a world of poverty, that someone could hoard their money more out of fear of the world and stuff like that. But it encouraged the normal person to want to donate more and help out the poor. Where I'm like, today's problem is not the Ebenezer Scrooges, really, because those people aren't the problem.
It's like a middle class person now.
Yeah, he's like a middle class person. Our problem is the,
tippity top.
Yeah, but yeah, anyway, that was
the Ebenezer Scrooges have hoarded so well.
Yeah.
There's not even Ebenezer Scrooges anymore.
Yeah.
Crazy. But yeah, the relationship between Charles and his father, I think, is quite interesting to watch throughout this. And, like, his dad trying to, like, win over his grandchildren with a crow. That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, I looked that up, right? So apparently the crow's real, and I can't remember exactly what I read. Something along the lines of it escapes or something later on, and then Charles Dickens tells the story to one Edgar Allan Poe, and the story may have caused him to write a certain famous poem. So there you go.
Well, good work. However, Charles finds it difficult to accept that a man as cruel and cold as Scrooge could undergo transformation. He rejects the idea, yet it continues to trouble him, manifesting as writer's block. As he struggles with resolving Scrooge's ending, his relationship with his family and friends becomes increasingly strained, while his depths continue to grow. Looking at the Wikipedia page, I thought this was an interesting point. Dan Stevens says he also expressed an interest in Miriam Marigold's theories that Dickens was bipolar, saying there were moments when he was bleak and depressive, but I think there were moments when he was great fun to be around, very silly and playful. Which I think
that up.
I think that plays very much into his depiction of, Charles Dickens. Although when you can't figure out how to fix something or finish something, you get pretty shitty. It puts you in a bad sour mood. Finally, Charles sends both his parents and Tara out of the house in a fit of rage. The next morning, he regrets dismissing her, but is unable to find and rehire her. Not upset about what he did to his dad. His wife, Catherine
Miriam Marigold's character is like looking for a young
Irish
in the middle of England. Impossible.
His wife, Tiffany, confronts Charles over his recklessness and instability, and admits that she believes that he put his work before his own family. It's revealed that much of Charles's animosity towards his father stems from his childhood trauma of labouring in a blacking factory after his father was taken to a debtor's prison, all due to John Dickens' failure to pay his debts. So a blacking factory is also, I guess, they make shoe shine, is what it is, boot polish. So, you know.
That's why he hates shoes.
They really hate shoes, yeah. Charles returns to the long abandoned factory where he confronts his own insecurities through the figure of Scrooge. Realizing that the story must center on redemption, he races home to complete the manuscript. As he prepares to deliver to the printer, Bharat arrives to return a book he has lent her. Charles apologizes for his early outbursts and invites her back into the household. I will say I enjoyed the sequence of Scrooge being in that
The coffin
grave.
thing? Oh, grave?
You know?
Yeah, hole? Yeah.
I guess, and like the walls kind of closing in and that kind of thing, and kind of him showing you that little bit of redemption.
It's literally the same sort of scene.
When you're faced with death.
The same sort of scene that the Ghost of Christmas Future does.
Yeah. I mean, when you're faced with death and being alone forever, it'll change you. It'll change your heart. You'll agree to a lot of stuff. At his wife's suggestion, Charles also reconciles with his father, who is preparing to leave London. After reuniting with his family, he submits the manuscript in time for publication before Christmas. The Dickens family celebrates the holiday with a closing text note. It's the overnight success of Christmas Carol and its enduring influence on Christmas traditions. Skipping over a bit there, but, you know... yeah, I mean, big success. You know, I think there's that moment of him holding the book for the first time. That's really cool. Yes, which is crazy because this dude is like, he's like 6 novels deep into his career at this point. He's like opening that book for the first time. Very special.
Yeah, and it's not like he slaved away on it for years working on the characters.
No, it was like 4 weeks.
Sometimes it just goes to show you just need a real manic month and a half to do your best work.
You do back in the day. Admittedly, it's a novella, so it's not that long. I will shout out his friend,
his best mate, whatever he actually does for work.
Who actually does work and has a crazy storyline where side tangent where he was engaged to a lady and then she didn't want to he wasn't allowed to get married to her, and then suddenly he's allowed to get married at the end of the movie. A lot of happy endings right at the end, you know. Coincidentally all work together. Tiny Tim, the
Tiny Tim,
the muse for Tiny Tim, you know, getting the dad getting a job and all this kind of stuff. What was the other thing I really enjoyed the Thackeray character, who's like this, I guess, gossip of the day, who really is just hanging around this club so he can deliver scathing.
Heard your new book, blah, 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 blah. They said this, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I'm going to go.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I would only say half of that or whatever.
I would only say the first half.
Yeah.
And then to turn it around to him having the really nice review, you know, thought nicely full circle moment there. Anything else you want to talk about A Man Who Invented Christmas?
No, I think it was interesting project. I think it's worth watching at least once, and quite enjoyed. I think Christopher Plummer makes a really good Scrooge. So
surely
I tried to look that up, and I know if I'm going insane, but
wasn't he in the Muppets one?
Was he though? That would make sense if he was, but I haven't watched I gotta be honest, I haven't watched the Muppets one for so fucking.
I definitely get the feeling like he did before.
No, it's Michael Caine. There is an Ebenezer Scrooge Wikipedia page. It says Seymour Hicks in 1935, Reginald Owen in 1938, Foster Sim in 1951, Albert Finney in 1970, Michael Caine in 1992, Jim Carrey in 2009, Christopher Plummer in 2017, Luke Evans in 2022, and Will Ferrell in 2022. And then there's some television and stage ones as well.
The Luke Evans ones I've never seen before. I've never heard of that one before.
No, neither. But it's a Netflix one, so animated one. Yeah, can add it to the list, I guess. I mean, there's enough here to fill an entire. If we did all these, that's just all the movies for a year.
That's a season. That's a season.
That's a season of its own. Yeah. Patrick Stewart in a television version, 1999. Kelsey Grammer, 2004 TV version. Guy Pearce, 2019 TV version. Patrick Stewart did it as well, 1988 one-man play. Tim Curry, 2001 revival play. Rhys Ifans, 2017 play. And then Nicholas Farrell in the most recent stage version. There you go.
Interesting.
And then it mentions Scrooge McDuck and says, hey, did you know this character was based on this? Yeah, really?
Really? It's crazy. All right, let's know what you thought of The Man Who Invented Christmas by going to explosionnetwork.com/follow and letting us know on social media. If you want to help us out here at A Very Explosion Christmas, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars. I think we can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you want to help us out at Explosion Network with all our content and other podcasts, head on over to explosionnetwork.com/supports. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, Bah Humbug. Well, Merry Christmas to everyone, each and every one. What's it? The end of the Christmas Carol?
I think it's Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.